Let's jump right in. Today's explainer is all about the ancient story of Joseph and his brothers. But listen, we aren't looking at this through the lens of dry, rigid religiosity. No way. Through the teachings of the New Israelite School of Biblical Arts, we're going to unlock this narrative as a living, allegorical mirror, one that reflects a deeply rooted, multi-ethnic spirituality and the incredibly painful, yet totally necessary work of ancestral healing. Really, this is a story about tribal survival, bloodlines, and repairing the absolute deepest of family wounds. So think about this for a second. What does it actually take to heal a fractured family and a broken soul? In this narrative, it takes a desperate physical hummer to finally force a family out of their complacency. We're talking about a devastating famine. It's a literal existential tribal threat that pushes these brothers to their absolute breaking point. To survive, they have to travel right into the heart of an empire, and it's a journey that ultimately forces them into a direct confrontation with the generational trauma they've spent decades trying to hide.
Section 1. Journey to the Reconciler.
There's this brilliant duality here when we use an analogous approach to biblical application. In the literal narrative, you have a severe physical famine in Canaan that separates the brothers from Joseph, putting their very survival at risk. But allegorically, this ancient struggle completely mirrors our own lives. When we're separated from the divine, we experience a severe spiritual famine. That deep, gnawing hunger in the land of our separation is exactly what forces us out of our comfort zones, making us journey toward true wholeness.
Their physical desperation forces them on a terrifying road trip to Egypt. Just imagine the sheer tension here. You're traveling to a foreign empire, begging for grain, and then immediately, you get accused of being spies by a powerful governor. And the intense irony of all this is that the powerful governor is actually the very brother they sold into slavery years ago, but they have absolutely no idea. Then they're told they can't come back without their youngest brother, Benjamin. It's this beautifully structured, totally unavoidable path straight to the reconciling.
Naturally, Jacob was absolutely terrified to let young Benjamin go. And honestly, it's so human. As the source material points out, we hold back aspects of our life from the healing touch and journey. We all have our own Benjamins, right? Those fragile parts of ourselves, our deepest fears, maybe secret addictions. We hold these vulnerable pieces back from true spiritual healing simply because we're terrified of losing them, or we're scared to face the searing pain that's required to heal our bloodlines.
Part 2. The Silver Cup Cast.
Joseph doesn't just ask his brothers if they've changed. He engineers a massive, high-stakes psychological test. He secretly plants his own silver cup deep inside Benjamin's grain sack. Then he lets the brothers leave, thinking they're safe and heading home, only to send his steward chasing after them at dawn. And look, this isn't some petty, vengeful trick. It's a necessary probation of their true character. Will they throw their youngest brother under the bus to save their own skins, just like they did to Joseph all those years ago? When that silver cup is dramatically pulled from Benjamin's grain, the brothers don't run. They don't start pointing fingers. In this ancient Near Eastern display of absolute devastation, they violently tear their clothes in mourning. This visceral reaction shows utter despair. They openly acknowledge that the Creator has found out their guilt, and they actually return to the city as willing slaves. By accepting collective guilt instead of abandoning Benjamin, they prove their hearts have fundamentally changed. The generational curse is finally breaking. Which brings us to part 3, Judah's ultimate sacrifice. This is the absolute core of relational spirituality. True brotherhood isn't just about shared blood. It requires deep, honest dialogue and ultimate accountability. Just think about Judah's incredible character arc for a second. He completely transforms from the brother who once callously suggested selling Joseph into slavery for a quick profit into the man who's now stepping up as the family's protector. He's ready to trade his own life for his brother's. That is visceral, ancestral healing in action. Judah steps forward with this unbreakable commitment, declaring, "For thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father." He is making a vow that totally transcends fear. He's willing to bear the eternal blame if anything at all happens to Benjamin. By standing in the gap for his family, he is actively repairing the tribal fracture that started decades prior. He looks straight at this incredibly powerful Egyptian ruler and makes the ultimate offer. "Let thy servant abide instead of the lad, a bondman to my lord, and let the lad go up." In this raw, intensely emotionally charged moment, Judah trades his own freedom for his brother's. He offers himself completely, becoming a beautiful type, a living shadow of the ultimate substitute. This right here is the very essence of substitution, or surety. And it's not about some dry, dogmatic punishment handed down from a rigid religious system. It is about stepping into the place of the guilty as a living sacrifice. It's this soul-stirring, selfless love that protects the family unit. Ultimately, this profound accountability is literally the only way to sever the roots of generational trauma and restore a broken bloodline.
Part 4. The Cup of Awakening.
Now, this begs a deeply personal question for all of us. Are we able to drink the cup of our own transformation? Just like Joseph's cup forced a terrifying reckoning and made the brothers confront their hidden past, we have to ask ourselves if we can embrace the cup that burns away our own ego and pride. It is a really difficult, transformative draught to swallow.
Because that silver cup was so much more than an ancient object of divination or a literal test of loyalty. Spiritually, it represents the heavy burden of our shared accountability. It's the fire that purges our spiritual wood, hay, and stubble. It's a painful but entirely necessary burning away of our fleshly ego. And it's something every single one of us must face on the path to genuine ancestral healing. Finally, Part 5, Ancestral Healing and Deliverance.
At this point, the facade completely breaks. Overwhelmed by Judah's sacrificial love, Joseph orders all the Egyptians out of the room. The emotional release is so intense here that he weeps loudly enough for Pharaoh's entire household to hear it outside. He reveals his true identity, but not with a sword of vengeance. Instead, he offers an embrace. This is a deeply spiritual, multi-ethnic vision of profound forgiveness that mends a shattered lineage and completely restores the bonds of brotherhood. Through his tears, Joseph reveals the ultimate divine perspective. He says, "It was not you who sent me here, but God, to preserve for you a remnant on earth." He looks completely past their past treachery. He sees that the Creator actively repurposed their deeply rooted tribal trauma and evil intentions for a massive saving act. The whole thing was orchestrated to bring them to this exact moment of reconciliation and survival. As teacher Mike Vinson points out, this entire ordeal beautifully illustrates the destruction of our old man, through which destruction our new man is birthed into the kingdom. That was the true underlying purpose of the agonizing famine, the terrifying tests, and that silver cup. It's the necessary death of our selfish nature, all so that a healed, united, and spiritually awakened family can finally be born. So, I want to leave you with this echoing thought to carry with you on your own journey. What must you sacrifice today to step into your own spiritual healing? True wholeness and multi-ethnic spirituality require us to face our past, lay down our immense pride, and stand in the gap for our brothers. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.